Kia ora te whānau, it's Jackie here. Welcome back to our channel. This is day 33 of our YouTube challenge where we upload a video every day for 90 days. If you're new here, my name is Jackie Kutia and alongside my husband we own a Māori business here in New Zealand and create content on YouTube. For today's video I wanted to go through 10 things that I wish I knew before having a PRP or things that I've learned since having a PRP. Our darling is nearly 4 months. She'll be 4 months next week, and yeah, I thought this might be a good video for any expecting parents out there, any mama, anyone really who's interested in knowing our experience since having our darling and being first-time parents. If you're interested in knowing a bit more about this, then keep watching. So I've got my phone here with all of my little points. It's not going to be in any particular order, I'm just going to run through it. If you relate to anything or if you have any partai, any questions about anything that I mentioned, feel free to pop it in the comments below. We always love interacting with you guys and hearing your experiences. So the first one is how to change a nappy properly. I didn't have the luxury of changing a lot of babies' nappies growing up. I have a couple of younger cousins and nieces and nephews, but yeah, I just haven't really had a lot of experience doing it, to be honest. That first night that we spent in hospital, me and hubby, was a bit of a shock to the system. We changed, was it her first or maybe her second nappy, and she did this huge explosion that went up her back and it was like black and it was scary. So we ended up calling the midwife to come in and help us because we sort of didn't really know what to do. So it would have been really helpful to even practice on some of the teddies that we have, just learning how to change a nappy properly and feeling confident that you can do it. You know, babies are obviously so fragile, especially when they're newborns, but just feeling confident to be able to get in there, get the job done, get them changed and do it really efficiently. So yeah, that's a very practical thing that I wish I did a bit more of. This next one is from my own experience. Other people can obviously have different thoughts on the matter, but I wish that I did a bit more research on websites such as Plunket. Like Plunket has been such an amazing resource since having our baby, instead of looking at TikTok. TikTok's really good for understanding other people's experiences. There's quite a lot of knowledgeable people on there, but it's also just filled with a whole bunch of shit. Not gonna lie, it's not very helpful. It's not usually advice that has been researched or from experts. There are experts and doctors and things on there, but it is just a whole lot of random stuff and a lot of unsolicited advice. So yeah, I wish that I, instead of referring to TikTok on how to do things, I went to researched websites that's backed up by scientists or, you know, proper experts such as Plunket. I think that just would have prepared me a little bit better, and especially when you look at all the things like when babies are newborn, things to watch out for, things that are normal, things like rashes, cradle cap, milk spots. If you have a baby girl, they do often have a little bit of like a period, a little bit of blood that comes out in those first couple of P's. Just things like that would have been really helpful to know before having baby. I think another strain to that is also sometimes with whānau. As much as we love our whānau giving their experiences and sharing what worked for them, it may not always suit your style of parenting or times of change. I love my mummy. She was very helpful, especially those first 2 weeks. But for things that she had done when I was born, that was 29 years ago. Things have changed a lot since then. One of the things that even when I was pregnant that people would say is, back when I was pregnant, I could eat anything I wanted and I could eat seafood and this and that, which yes, they did, but back in those days, they were eating fresh kai from the mara, from the garden. They weren't eating a lot of processed foods, all that sort of stuff, which leads me to my next point, is to trust your own instincts. You may, like us, feel that you didn't know a lot before having baby, but you soon find out that once baby is here, your own maternal instincts kick in. And I'm very lucky that I've got such a supportive husband who also also has really good instincts when it comes to being a father, being a husband, and just making sure that he knows what's best for our baby as well. Leaning on the support of your partner if you're lucky to have one during this experience, and trusting your own instincts as opposed to getting advice from other people. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if that does, but yeah. Another one is what jaundice was. So had no idea what jaundice was. No one ever told me about it when I was hapu, and apparently a lot of our family members had kids that had jaundice, so that would have been very helpful to know. But basically our darling was born by forceps, and we weren't able to see our midwife when we were discharged because she had just delivered another baby and she had gone home. But essentially she came to see us for our first check-in the following day, I believe it was, and she had checked over baby and saw that baby's jaundice was quite bad. So it was in her face, but it also started going down into her body. So she had suggested that we go back to hospital to get baby checked, which meant another blood test, another prick in the foot, which was very sad. I had no idea what jaundice was. I still don't really know what it is, but jaundice may occur if the liver can't efficiently process red blood cells as they break down. So it is quite a normal thing, but yeah, it would have just been very helpful to understand what it was and also what might happen. So we were kind of freaking out, had to go to hospital that day. We ended up, we packed in case we needed to stay overnight, which we ended up having to do. Yeah, our darling was such a trooper. She had to do some light therapy, so they suggested she was sort of on the borderline between needing treatment and being below the line or whatever it was. But they suggested because she was so close, let's just do treatment so they can get on top of it. Did the light therapy, and she actually really enjoyed it, if I'm being honest. She basically got wrapped in this light pad and she couldn't wear any clothes. She only could wear a nappy, and the light pretty much just helped to break down those red blood cells, and efficiently feeding as well, so having to feed every 3 hours even if she was very sleepy. That was the other thing that the midwife had saw when she had checked her. She was very yellow, but she was super sleepy and she wasn't at the breast like hungry for Kai, so that's why she suggested to go to the hospital. Yeah, once we were in hospital, I had to feed her every 3 hours, so I put my alarm clock on to do that. And what was really good was my full milk had just kicked in when that happened as well, so I was having colostrum pretty much up to that day. I think that was maybe the 3rd day, and my milk kicked in. So yeah, it all happened perfectly, and I'm so glad that my milk had come in, so I was able to really give her some big Kai, and then she did a lot of poos and wheeze to just get all of that out of her system. So yeah, that would have been something that would have been very helpful to know, was that whole process. I'd be really interested to know if your peppy had jaundice and what your experience was. You can just pop that in the comments. My next point, which I think is, I don't even know what I'm up to, 0.45, is don't feel that you have to be a certain type of parent. You'll just come into it over time. So for me, prior to having baby, being an event manager is my job. I am quite a organized, rigid person when it comes to my routine, especially when it comes to my job and my career and things. I assumed that I was going to carry that on to having a baby, but basically once she was here, all of that went out the window, and instead of trying to force baby into some sort of routine, I decided to just follow baby's lead. So that comes with feeding, you know, changing when she's tired. Instead of setting a certain type of schedule, I just go off her and what she needs in that moment. For some people, you know, having a schedule and a plan probably helps them, and I'm assuming when you've got multiple children, then you don't have the luxury of just doing what baby wants. But for us right now, that's what works for our whānau. Yeah, don't look at another mama and say, oh, that's what I want to do, and then get upset if that doesn't happen. Just follow your own lead and be your own parent, and then, you know, that might change and adjust over time. But yeah, you'll slowly grow into it and it'll become more natural for you. Another thing is baby blues. So I had no idea what this process was prior to having baby. And essentially for me, those first 2 weeks of having her, I'm not going to say it was traumatic, but it was just very emotional. Obviously a lot of that is also your hormones just rebalancing, especially my labor was a little bit crazier than I anticipated. Yeah, I never really quite realized how emotional I would be in that first 2 weeks. For me, it was just that sheer responsibility of looking after a new life and making sure that she survives every single day. That was like my number one thing, was keeping this precious taonga alive. Like, that's at the end of the day how simple was for me. But yeah, obviously all those emotions, the responsibility, the weight of making sure that you're doing everything right as best as you can. I was very lucky that my mum took 2 weeks off work to stay with us. Just the simple things of cooking us a kai. She would do our lunch and our dinner, and making me a coffee, making sure I was drinking my water. All those sorts of things helped me, especially in that period, being a first time mum. But just really sitting with that, not saying, oh my god, I need to snap out of this, or why am I crying? Just sitting with that emotion, feeling it, and then moving past it. The next one is, I didn't know that your midwife pretty much runs everything during labor. I did sit down with my midwife and go through our birth plan, but yeah, I didn't really anticipate that she was going to be in charge of everything during my labor. So it was just cool to understand that whole process once I went to hospital, and then also the process afterwards. So this may change for other places around the world, but for us, or even in New Zealand, but for my experience, our midwife had, I think it was 7 or 8 sessions after I gave birth, just to check in on me and to check in on baby. These happened, I think, weekly for the first couple of weeks, and then it was maybe fortnightly for the last couple of sessions. But the things that your midwife checks, or what she did for me, was how many poos and pees that your baby does. They measure baby in terms of height and also weight, so you've got to take all baby's clothes off and baby's nappy so they can see if baby's weight gaining is good. How is baby sleeping? Is baby sleeping okay? Is baby co-sleeping, or is baby sleeping in their own sleep space? How's feeding going? Breastfeeding? Are you expressing? How are your nipples feeling? All that sort of stuff. Checking your stitches, because I had a delivery by forceps. My stitches were quite severe, so she just checks down there and makes sure everything's looking okay. Giving advice on safe sex after labor and recommendations on when to do that. I think that's pretty much the main things. And one app that I found really helpful for tracking all of these things is called Huckleberry. So in this app you can track all of the things that are required for catching up with your midwife. It's just really helpful to record these things, especially in those first couple of weeks, so you actually know, okay, baby's had 3 poos and 3 wees and baby slept for this amount of hours. Definitely recommend, if you are planning on having a baby, that you download this app. Me and hubby are strong believers. Baby picks up your aura and your energy. So one thing that a lot of doctors and the midwife and everyone said to us through our journey is that me and him are quite calm and we're on the same page, and we've got a really good routine just between us two, and that temperament, I guess, has flow-on effect to baby and how baby is and why she's eating well and why she's sleeping well. It's because it's a direct reflection of how me and him are. If you are more of a frantic person and you get stressed and your house is a mess and all that sort of stuff, you may see that that falls onto baby. So yeah, that's one thing that we've been really diligent about, is ensuring that in stressful situations me and him are keeping calm. Accepting that being tired is inevitable is something that we've tried to do. It's exhausting, it's super exhausting, especially those first few weeks, but when baby is crying and waking up in the middle of the night 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, it's because baby needs you, especially being a mama. They want to be comforted, they're hungry, you know, they want to be soothed, and it's nothing more precious than being someone's life, you know, being someone's everything. For our baby, she depends on us for everything, like we do everything for her. So just realizing that it's only a moment, it's only a point in time. One day you're going to look back on all of this, you know, when baby hits those milestones or goes to school and is not able to fit in your arms or moves out of home, that all of this just happened in the blink of an eye. So just really being present in this current moment, knowing that you're going to be tired, so you're almost prepared for it instead of trying to fight it. And yeah, and just realizing that your baby needs you. Like there's nothing more precious than being needed by this little life that you created. Last but not least, this is probably to me the most important thing. And I know for every woman this is not possible, so if you are not able to do this, I do really feel for you, and I'm not coming at you or anything like that, but for me and my experience, it is that breastfeeding has been an absolute game changer for us and has so many benefits for you, but more so for your baby. And I hands down think that is why her temperament is so good, and she's the reason why she is because she is a breastfed baby, 100% breastfed. I don't express. I do have those little haka ladybugs that I use mostly for her baths, and I do have quite a good freezer stash in case we ever do need to use it. Haven't yet given her a bottle. We haven't tried that just because I've been loving my breastfeeding journey so much, but we do have a freezer stash in case of emergencies, or if I do need to pop out for a little bit longer than intended. My husband has that as backup. But yeah, there is so many benefits to breastfeeding your baby. For me personally, having baby breastfed instead of expressed, I haven't tried that fully and I don't know too much about it, but I just know that there is a lot of admin when it comes to expressing, especially if you're doing that permanently or full time, in terms of like your schedules and having to pump, making sure you don't get clogged ducts, all of the admin with sterilizing and cleaning bottles and all that sort of stuff. So I just wanted to remove as much, I wouldn't say hassle, but barriers probably from my breastfeeding journey, so that when she's hungry I can just pop her straight on. You know, it's all sterilized, it's all clean, and I don't have to worry about temperature and all that sort of stuff. So that's been the biggest thing for us, and I think the biggest contributor to why we have a beautiful, healthy, happy baby who is currently 7.6 kgs is because she is breastfed. But again, I know that this isn't possible for everyone, so motaku here, I'm sorry if you are not able to breastfeed your baby. Obviously fed is best, so whether that's milk from the boob, whether that's expressed, whether that's formula, a fed baby is number one. But yeah, that's just in terms of my own experience. And I will leave you with one bonus thing, which is the Holy Trinity. If your baby is upset and you're a new mama or new parent and you have no idea why your baby is crying or upset, it's usually one of the three things. Your baby is either hungry, your baby is tired, or your baby needs a nappy change. If all else fails with the Holy Trinity, then definitely get advice. Plunkett line is amazing. They're 24/7. You can call them, speak to a registered nurse, go through all baby symptoms. But yeah, that is the Holy Trinity that we follow and that we do and that we check every time baby's upset. So I can hear my darling. That is the wrap on this video, te whānau. Sorry if I went all over the place. Again, this is my little brain dump, my little time to have a kōrero with you all. If you did find this video helpful, please give it a like, a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will catch you in tomorrow's video. Ka kite!